In this video, we will go over what BitLocker is, talk about some pros and cons and security concerns. So what is BitLocker anyways? BitLocker is a Microsoft product that encrypts the data on your PC. There are essentially two ways to use BitLocker: the version that is enabled by default, called unattended access, and the version that uses a password. Since the unattended access style is the most commonly used, this is the version that we will be mostly discussing in this video. Unattended access is also called device encryption. On startup, the TPM or Trusted Platform module is used to unlock and decrypt the drive. This entire process happens without any user interaction or passwords. The TPM module is there so if you remove the drive from the device and install it in a different device, the data does not unlock automatically on startup. The purpose of this is to prevent the data on the drive from being read when removed from the device, and also to prevent the drive from being read until after the user has already logged into Windows. This protects your data in the event that your device gets stolen or is not decommissioned properly, for example if you sell the device but do not wipe the drive. As of Windows 11 24H2, BitLocker is now enabled by default on all new installs. So any new computer made after around late 2024 will have BitLocker enabled by default. The professional versions of Windows also have BitLocker enabled by default, so if your computer was provided by your employer, BitLocker may be enabled. You can check if BitLocker is enabled or disabled by opening the Start menu and searching for BitLocker, then click Manage BitLocker. If BitLocker is enabled, the option here will be to turn off BitLocker, otherwise BitLocker is not enabled. This all sounds great, but are there any downsides? Let's start with the performance impacts. Device encryption uses the computer's processor to decrypt the data in real time as you use the computer. Tom's Hardware did extensive testing and found that the performance impact is actually quite bad. Tests were conducted using high-end desktop hardware. The impact is going to be far worse on a laptop or lower-end hardware. This chart uses a drive benchmark tool, where higher is better. From the top, the red bar is using hardware encryption, which is not the default and requires a compatible drive. The middle bar is the drive with BitLocker completely disabled. The bottom chart is with BitLocker enabled using the default software encryption. The performance impact is almost a 20% reduction in bandwidth. This would be noticed when you are moving a large file from one place to another. Let's look at another chart. This one shows the impact on random writes. This is more representative of what you would be doing on your computer day to day, saving files, using programs, and so on. You can see that the performance hit is pretty bad at around 40%. You will definitely feel this using the computer. You can check out the original article in the description for more details and charts. Maybe the performance degradation is justified for the security improvement. Not so fast. BitLocker currently has a relatively simple bypass. The original flaw was discovered by security researcher Rari in 2022. It was patched, but security researcher Thomas Lamberts discovered that the bypass could still be used by hijacking the network boot option in Windows. The original talk will be linked in the video description. The short version is that by using a second laptop and a network cable, an attacker can have access to all your data unencrypted without ever logging into Windows. Microsoft actually tried to fix the original issue in July, but unfortunately the fix inadvertently caused many computers to prompt users for the BitLocker recovery key. So the change was reversed soon after. This is a good reminder to write down your BitLocker recovery key or store it on a USB drive or similar. If you use a Microsoft account, the key is saved on your account, but it is still a good idea to have it somewhere else. You can also print the key. Look at this guide in the description for details on this. There are other ways to break into BitLocker. A YouTube channel called Stack Smashing showed how to get the recovery key and unlock the drive by attacking the TPM itself. Basically, the TPM decrypts the key from the drive and sends that decrypted key to the processor. But the key can be grabbed mid-transit using a $4 Raspberry Pi. How can you protect yourself against such attacks? The short version is that BitLocker unattended access, or device encryption, is not safe and is not much of a deterrent for mildly skilled attackers. The best solution is to encrypt your drive using a regular password or PIN, instead of using unattended access. This article goes over how to set this up. Do note that you will need to enter this password every time you start the computer, and if you lose this password you will not be able to access your data without the recovery key. Since this only changes the startup sequence, the performance hit still applies. Alternatively, if you are not worried about drive security, or do not want to deal with the performance hit, you can disable BitLocker entirely. If you use a desktop or do not really take your laptop anywhere, then disabling BitLocker may be the best choice. You can always just password protect any sensitive files or folders individually. Thanks for watching our video. Like many security products, BitLocker unattended access is simply too good to be true. And the trade-offs are steep. BitLocker with a password is much more secure than without, but remember that passwords can be attacked too, so it is important to use a complex long password. Try to avoid real words as much as possible and avoid simple substitutions like using a 0 in place of an O.